Yeah, I did change, and I'm really glad I changed.
This one's wife. Harry, this one thing should wake you up. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As I've explained to you before, Harry, with all his flaws and idiosyncrasies, has been ensnared by a narcissist. A combination of not being particularly bright and affected by his own emotional thinking meant that he didn't see what she was when she first came along, spider that she is. And when she moved to the sustained devaluation, he still was not able to fathom out what has occurred. As he has lost family and friends, it still hasn't dawned on him what has gone wrong, as he has found himself isolated, living in a country that is unfamiliar to him, finding himself on the receiving end of a variety of malign manipulations. He still has not woken up to what he is dealing with. The fact that he has no meaningful role, that he blunders around as the clown prince, the fact that he has been ensconced in the world of celebrity, taking him away from the charitable endeavours that he once applied himself to, has failed to wake him up. He walked into the awful shared fantasy, woven by this one's wife, and has remained there, corrupted and polluted, his own flaws exacerbated, as his own unpleasantness increased as a consequence of the influence of his wife. As this has continued, his unpopularity has plummeted. Chained to his wife, he still failed to realise how her behaviour has driven a wedge between him and people that he was once close to, his family, his friends, that he's failed to appreciate, that his own sinking popularity is a consequence of the way that he has behaved, as he has been led by the nose or by something else, by his wife. That he finds himself in a position whereby not only has he become more unpopular, but he has faced a substantial backlash in relation to the SB Pat Tillman Award. And yet, has he woken up? The Spectator states, "It must be a strange time to be Prince Harry. A year and a half ago, he was the most famous man in the world, thanks to the headline-grabbing publication of his autobiography, Spare. Whether you thought it was brave, incisive and fascinating, or overwritten tawdry nonsense, it was hard not to have an opinion on both the book and its subject. Harry's every movement and utterance was eagerly scrutinised. But an awful lot has happened since, not least the illnesses of his father and sister-in-law. Even his wife's increasingly desperate-sounding American Riviera orchard brand has overshadowed his own efforts to put himself in the spotlight. So when he was offered the Pat Tillman Award for service by the American broadcaster ESPN, it seemed like both a pat on the back and an easy opportunity to return to public consciousness without a great deal of effort. The award was named after an NFL American football player and war hero who died in Afghanistan in 2004, and will be awarded at the ESPY Awards, a prestigious ceremony described as the sporting Oscars. It should have been a win all round. Harry makes a speech and takes away a trophy. The event has some royal stardust, and the memory of Tillman is honoured. In sporting parlance, it sounded like a slam dunk. Alas, Harry has become as unloved a figure in the United States as he is in Britain. And when the news broke of the award, there was outcry. Despite Harry's genuine and sincere involvement in sport, exemplified by his involvement in the Invictus Games, there is widespread scepticism that he is deserving of an accolade like this. One petition, which at the time of writing has nearly 68,000 signatures, suggests that Pat Tillman exemplified duty, honour and sacrifice He gave up his successful NFL career to serve his country after the 9/11 attacks, and tragically lost his life during his service. Awarding this honour to someone who does not reflect the award's intent diminishes its value and disrespects Tillman's memory. By itself, this would be easy to ignore. Public petitions are often excitable intent and attracts all kinds of ill wishers. But then, in a more damaging move, Tillman's mother, Mary, came forward and told the Mail on Sunday that, "I am shocked as to why they would select such a controversial and divisive individual to receive the award. There are recipients that are far more fitting." At the moment, there is no word as to whether the controversial and divisive Prince Harry will turn down the award and therefore avoid an unpleasant public scene, or whether he will, at the very least, accept it via the time-honoured means of video message rather than appearing in person. Whatever happens now, this debacle is yet another nail in his reputational coffin. It will, no doubt, given his track record, be humiliating for a man with such notably thin skin. What next for Harry? More Invictus, more Netflix, an attempted reconciliation with some of his family? It's more likely that hell will freeze over than he and William will make nice once again. All of these things are possibilities, just as his presence on a promotional tour for American Riviera Orchard, gamely grinning as he eats jam out of a jar, cannot be discounted. However, he still has one ace up his sleeve. Unusually, the paperback of Spare has not yet been published. It has been rumoured that he and his ghostwriter have been waiting to include new and sensational material to galvanise sales to those who live for the scandal and outrage. Given that the royal family has hardly found itself lacking on this front of late, Harry's on-the-record thoughts about such matters and, of course, laborious explanations of how it all relates to him promise to be as attention-seeking as everything else he has come out with as lately. But only the most delusional would bet against it returning him to the spotlight, and that means more to the Clown Prince than any number of well-intentioned but embarrassing awards. That's the view of Alexander Larman, who writes in The Spectator. What this picks up on is the one thing that ought to be causing Harry to wake up. Whilst Harry does enjoy some of the attention that comes from the celebrity lifestyle, it's not his first love. What mattered to him was sport and the military, the Invictus Games. For all of the being hawked around talking to children, for all of the attendances at the UN, these were really all of the things that this one's wife wanted to do in order to manage her facade. Harry has faced criticisms before, but the Invictus Games has largely been something which has been successful until this one's wife's thought to hijack it. And the fact that he has been given an award for his involvement in the Invictus Games, and that then that award has attracted so much criticism that in effect it isn't enough for his involvement in the Invictus Games to override the lack of popularity that he now finds, really ought to be causing him to wake up. That he should think to himself, wait, the Invictus Games, that was created for me, but in effect it's my baby. And that's something that I've always had an involvement in, something that I've enjoyed being involved in. It resonates for me. Charity, the military, and sport, 3 things that I've been involved in. And that, my baby, is being criticised, is being affected as a consequence of the way that I'm viewed. Even for someone as obtuse as Harry, whilst he might not have picked up on the reasons for his unpopularity in relation to other matters, the cherished way that he regards Invictus and the fact that it isn't being regarded in a positive light, the fact that this very vehicle that he has been involved in finds itself the subject of controversy, should be sufficient for even a dunderhead as Harry to suddenly think, hang on a second. If that's being criticised, and I'm being criticised, there's something very wrong here, isn't there? I think I need to start doing things differently. Whether he will wake up remains to be seen. Whether he will turn around and decide not to accept the award, which would be the most appropriate thing, although I doubt that it will happen, remains to be seen. Whether he will wake up by realising the one precious vehicle that he has is coming under sustained and appropriate criticism should wake him up. But whether it will remains to be seen, as he remains in the grip of his own emotional thinking and the manipulations of this one's wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.